G'day guys, and welcome to a brand new series on my channel. In this project, we are going to be attempting to build the city of Springfield from the TV show The Simpsons. Yeah, I did just say that. This is the first time I'm going to be working on a project where I'm not just taking inspiration from a city or an area from real life, but instead we're going to be trying to recreate an entire city from a TV show. So if you're unfamiliar with The Simpsons, or you don't like the show, or you don't really know what it's about, I can imagine you're a little bit on the fence about this project. Do me a favor and just listen to the first 5 minutes of this episode, because I'm going to be giving a bit of a rundown of what I want this project to look like, and the direction I think that this city is going to take. So, like a lot of people my age, I grew up watching The Simpsons more than any other TV show. I feel like I've seen every single episode over 100 times, although that's probably every episode from the 90s to 2010. I'm not very familiar with the newest episodes. I don't think they're quite as good, but the golden era for me was really in the 90s. I love all those old school Simpsons episodes. The amount of potential brain space that is taken up by Simpsons quotes is just embarrassing. But again, wouldn't change a thing, loved growing up with The Simpsons, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can probably relate. So yeah, $2, we get it, you like The Simpsons. Why are you trying to recreate the city of Springfield within City Skylines? Well, a couple of reasons. First up, I've always built an area and then created the story afterwards, but I wanted a bit of a change from that and instead do that in reverse. This time we know what the story is, but then we have to recreate that. There's so many memorable moments from The Simpsons, and now I have to try and take all those ideas and put them within the city, which is actually kind of a really fun process, and it's totally different to what I'm used to doing. Another really cool aspect is that the city of Springfield doesn't actually exist. There's no map of the city, there's no layout of the city, and from every episode, like landmarks and places change different locations. So one day the power plant will be next to the river in one episode, and then the next time it'll be next to the Simpsons house. It all just depends on telling the story. But for me, I have to take all those ideas and the sort of like general layout of the city and where I think where most things are going to realistically go within a realistic setting and try and recreate it, which by my knowledge hasn't really been done before. I mean, there are a couple of fan-made maps on the internet, and there has been a couple of games that have come out, like Virtual Springfield was one that I played when I was a kid. There was also The Simpsons Road Rage, which I didn't like the layout of that game. I felt like it was not accurate. So there's always been recreations, but I've never felt like they've been executed that well. Whereas here we're going to be using a pretty powerful game. Like, this game does a really good job at being able to create cities in a quite a realistic fashion, and I think we'll be able to get far more detail and realism than any hand-drawn map or video game. So because there's no real map of Springfield, it means that we've got a lot of creative freedom when it comes to layout and where things are going to go. We're going to be trying to figure out where things will go in a realistic way, but also taking into account that, you know, we have to try and be accurate to the TV show and trying to base it on scenes from the episode. So haven't found a proper map or a proper big shot of the actual city, which I have to be honest, I'm really quite glad about, because then we can try and piece together the puzzle that is the city. I'm going to be basing my city of Springfield from about 1990 to about 2005. That is like the time frame of this. But because we are sort of taking it from the golden era of the 90s, everything is going to be based on the 90s. So all the cars driving around will be from the 90s era, and I'm going to be trying to do a bit of an architecture style of that as well, which of course isn't like too far away, like wasn't too long ago, but it's still quite fun seeing a lot of 90s era vehicles driving around. And I'm also sure you're wondering how I'm going to be able to build some of the iconic landmarks of Springfield. Well, luckily I've been working with a bunch of asset creators. I've got Die Hard Hunter, who's created a bunch of assets. That Evan's done a whole bunch of billboards for me, and King Leno has also created some of the landmarks too, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on in this series. And on that, we do have a Discord server that you guys can join in the chat to talk about different aspects of the city and things you want to include. And if there's anyone who has any ability in asset creation, I would much appreciate people's help, because I don't have all the landmarks. I'm hoping to also use procedural objects to fill in the gaps and to do a lot of customization for myself. But if you are interested in joining in the project and trying to build some landmarks or even give asset creation a go, please get in touch on Discord, and yeah, I'll greatly appreciate that. And for those of you who are on the fence, I know I probably haven't won you over just yet, especially if you don't like the show or you never grew up watching it. You're pretty much like out of the loop, I get that. For this series, I also plan to be taking inspiration from any sort of city and town from the Midwest of the United States. It'll probably end up being more Western or like Oregon style cities, because I do know that the city of Springfield is based from the city of Portland, or at least the city of Springfield from Oregon. So, you know, we're taking like bits of inspiration from there, but also like anywhere mid-Western, wherever. I'll be taking ideas from real life cities. And I'm going to try not to make every single episode about The Simpsons. I might reference it from time to time. There might be full episodes where we just go full detail on building those areas. And there might be episodes where we don't even mention it. So just really gauging interest at this stage. At the moment, I'm thinking like 15 to 20 episodes. It could be less if everyone's like, no, not interested. Like, you know, I am trying to run a channel here. It's not just, I'm not just building purely for my own interest. It's also the interest of you guys. But then if people are just super on board, super keen, then maybe we just continue it for as long as we need to. But I'm really just testing the waters, seeing what people think. I'm interested. Are you interested? Question mark? What's going on? You guys keen for this? Maybe not. I don't know. Like, it's a real gamble on my behalf. And I'm also hoping to incorporate actual footage from The Simpsons. But like, there's a really great chance that I'm just gonna get copyright striked. So I don't know if that's gonna be a common thing I'm gonna be able to do. I don't know if that's gonna make a reappearance. Like, the plan at this stage, as I record this episode, I'm like, I'm gonna slot in little videos here and there. But if you don't see any of those videos, it's because the big old copyright strike god is just striking me down and is saying, no, you can't do that. But guys, if you are keen for this series, then you can let me know by subscribing to the channel. If you want to follow along and join in on the series, you can also join the Discord to have a chat and to help me figure out the layout and ideas and concepts into the city. And a really great way to support the channel is to become a patron of the channel. That helps me to release videos as frequently as I do, and you'll also get access to the save game. So this video that you're watching right now, this whole map that I create, will be accessible to my patrons as a thank you for their support. So if you are interested, that'll be amazing. But if not, just liking, subscribing, or commenting on the video, or just watching, even if you're just watching, is also a massive bonus for me. So with all that being said, now I can start talking about what I am doing on screen, and I'm still going to be talking a lot about the project as I think of ideas as they come to my head. By this stage, I don't think there's anything else I totally needed to talk about. So let's start talking about what I'm doing. So as you can see, I didn't start this map from a total blank canvas. I chose a map from the workshop that I thought was the closest to what I wanted to create. This map is by Bringer of Fire, and the map's name is Castamere. You can actually find it in the collection that I've added in the description below. It's an asset. I've got two collections below. I've got my Essentials one that basically has all generic, all the main mods and assets that I always want to use in my projects, and then I've got a Simpsons collection, which you'll find everything that I'm using in the project. You'll actually notice that they're not massively full collections, so I'm not using a huge amount. I think all up, I'm probably using about 600 assets, which is not that much. I like to keep it pretty simple and basic because I find it easier to find the assets that I want. It's faster. It feels a bit faster to run projects with not as many mods and assets. I like to keep it under about 600. That's like premium, and I'm always culling mods and assets as well. I'm also not subscribed to a lot of DLCs on purpose, so I try to be really picky with the DLCs that I am using and not using. So I'm not using Natural Disasters. I don't plan to use Campus. It's not installed at the moment, and I don't plan to install it. But later on down the track, I might install it, might not. I'll see what happens. I'm also not using the Sunset Harbor. And there might be another one that I'm not using. Oh, Green Cities. I'm not using Green Cities either. Now we're doing something really fun. We're putting in some snow-capped mountains. Far out, this was fun. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time, but never really had a project where I could do that with. I think I might do it for Marble Mountain for like a winter special or something like that, maybe over Christmas. But yeah, this was really fun building these snow-capped mountains. Basically, this is the sand texture because we're not on like a beach or like we don't have any ocean. We don't need sand, so it's instead snow, and it just creates this really great snowy effect, which I'm just sprinkling on the highest of mountains and then the valleys as well, which I think is a bit more of a realistic fashion, but it just looks so nice. I'm so happy we got to do this. Maybe like 40%, 50% of the inspiration from like a real city would be from the city of Springfield within Oregon. So this is a city that is kind of the inspiration for the city of Springfield from The Simpsons. This is where the creator of The Simpsons grew up. I think he might have grew up in Portland, but he said that he went to Springfield quite a lot because they're really close in relation to each other. So I'm sort of taking ideas from that city more than any other. But in saying that, this is a very similar city to a lot of cities within the US, and I think that's pretty much like this. I think that's why he chose it, because it is very similar to like any other city. I know I'm being very general, like this is a massive generalization, but the concept of the city of Springfield within The Simpsons is that it could be any city within the US. You actually saw that there was water within this map, and I got rid of that because I wanted this city to be landlocked. I know that later on in the show there's the Springfield port, but I don't know. I don't really buy that. The city feels landlocked to me, so I got rid of the water. So I'm not going to be taking any inspiration from any city that's like on the coastline, but more cities that are, a bit similar to cities that are in Oregon. And that's why I have chosen the foliage that I have chosen. Not to mention that I really desperately wanted to use these trees by Grey Flame. These pine trees are just so amazing. I'll talk more about the foliage in the live play, but yeah, I really love these. I think they turned out great, and that's another reason why Oregon just like ticked that box for me, because it's something that I haven't really worked with before. I know we'll have like we'll do have that pine forest within Marble Mountain, but this is like slightly different. It's a bit of a different project, and yeah, I'm pretty keen to be using this. Not to mention using more custom mods and assets. Far out, I have missed using custom assets. I haven't realized that I've been using so many vanilla assets for such a long time now. Marble Mountain's very lightweight on custom assets, and Miami has none, so it's been really nice being a little bit more free with what I can use, and it's just it's great. So what I've been doing with the trees is I've just been putting it in the valleys, trying to do it pretty light because I'm not using the unlimited tree mods. Again, trying to go pretty lightweight at, somewhat lightweight on my mods. If I don't have to use it, then I won't use it. So yeah, just going a bit light around the borders of the city, and then as we get a little bit closer to the city, we're doing some big forests, because I did want there to be a nice big pine forest really close to the city. I think it really frames the borders of the city, and I just think it's going to be really nice to have a forest so close. So I'm going to try not to encroach too much on it, because it'd be nice to have like a big national park. We also have this dam, which is also where Lake Springfield is, which is another iconic landmark of The Simpsons. You also saw that I created, I don't know if did I create it yet? I don't think I've created it yet, but yeah, we've got the Springfield sign, which just looks so great. And I'm also using the resources brush just to very lightly sprinkle the tops of the mountains with this like stony effect, because pretty much nothing's growing up there. It's very high up in the atmosphere. And then we're using a bit more of the brown color to put underneath the forest, because it just looks like leaves have been sprinkled on there. And look, there I go. Now I'm finally building the Springfield sign. But that's about it. Let's get into the live play and I can give you a bit more of a rundown of everything that I've been up to. Alright guys, welcome to the live section of the video. Now, I have to say, I've probably started like, I don't know, maybe, it must be like, it's over 10. I've done about 10 different cities. There's way more than 10. It must be like 20, even before I was making videos on YouTube. And I have to say that this has got to be my favorite looking map so far. I am just so happy with how everything is looking on this. The mountains are exactly how I wanted them to look. And the color settings, I think, are pretty much exactly how I want them to look from the get-go. As you guys know, I usually take a while to figure how that's going to look. But, I mean, everything I think is just pretty much exactly what I wanted. And the map, I mean, there's a couple little things that I need to change. And I'll talk about that in a sec. But, I mean, straight off the bat, I'm really, really happy with how everything's looking. Particularly the choice in trees. I mean, they are just so great. I'm using a lot of Grey Flame. I'm using a lot of Padelmo. I'm using a lot of Mr. Mason. There's just such great tree assets on the workshop at the moment. But I just want to talk quickly about my color settings because I'm sure that's something that you guys are really interested in. Ultimate Eye Candy and my relight settings are pretty much the same as they've always been. LUT, I'm using the natural light setting for the relight mod. I've sort of tossed between neutral, but it just sort of takes the color out of everything. I mean, that's probably a bit more realistic, but I just think that for videos, I mean, I think that looks better. A little bit brighter, a bit nicer. So I like this color setting, and I'm pretty stoked with how it looks from the very beginning, which usually takes me a while to figure that out. And also, can I just quickly say that there is some crazy weather going on out my window at the moment, so it's probably coming into the mic, so sorry about that. Adding a little bit of ambience to my videos. And here it is, Springfield. I mean, this is where the city's gonna sit. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so great, guys. Oh man, I'm feeling very, very inspired. So before I even get over there, I mean, check out these mountains. I've been wanting to do a series with some snow-capped mountains for such a long time. I even tried to sneak them into my Border Town series. I mean, if you guys can cast your memory back when I was doing that series, but you guys didn't really have a bar of it. So it's really nice to actually finally get some snow-capped mountains in. And we'll have to fix up a couple of them. Potentially, I don't know, they're probably fine. You know, I just want to fix up a little bit where the snow is sitting, but I do like them, just the snow sitting in these ridges, which is something that is probably a little bit more realistic than what I was doing before, but we could probably drag a little bit more of the snow around here, which is something that I can actually do, you know, throughout the series, probably just like keep on adding to it. I didn't want there to be like a huge amount of snow on these mountains, and maybe I've gone for a little bit too much. I know, you guys let me know. But I do really love them, particularly this guy in the background. I mean, that is just a massive mountain, and I love that the clouds in the background, like not these ones, but the actual clouds that sit over the map, they just give that little hazy effect to really show that it's like really far away, and I just love it. I mean, it's awesome. I'm really, really happy with that. And then, of course, we've got the sign, the Springfield sign, which I think is in a great location. I wanted it to be pretty central and also in a, you know, I put a lot of effort into these mountains. I'm going to talk about them in a second because let's have a little look at the map first up. So, of course, this is where the city is going to sit. I've just been playing around with just, you know, looking at some of the, I don't know, just the color settings and stuff. I usually plop down a bit of a practice town just to see how everything looks. Make sure everything's functioning the way it should. And I'm obviously not going to keep the save game because I'm going to change some things up. This like forest here, I mean, it's just, I love it. I've been wanting to use these trees by Grey Flame. There we go, just getting the words out of my mouth for a while. And it's so nice to finally use them because they're just amazing. I love them so much. They're just really, really great looking trees. I really wanted to also use Mr. Mason Red, the Redwoods. I honestly was planning on using these, but I think they're going to be way too big for this series. You know, maybe if I was doing a different type of map, then I could actually get away with using these, but they're just way too tall, unfortunately. Do you see what I mean? Which is a shame because they're just so nice. Like they're really, really, really beautiful. But I don't think I can use them. Not on this map. I think in another project then I could probably use them. But in a project like this, I think, we're not going to go for a big city and they're going to be pretty much taking up a lot of the space. So I can't use them, unfortunately. But, I am using a whole bunch of other Mr. Masons. What else can I talk about? Like I said, I do need to fix up a couple of things on the map. So this is, a bit wonky. Actually, to be honest, a lot of the roads are... a lot of the roads are a bit wonky. You might see a couple of trees floating around. This needs to be fixed up. So generally what I do when I create a map is I go in and once I think it's pretty much done, I'll go and play it and test it out and see if everything is looking all right. And then I'll take down some notes of things that I need to change. Another thing that I need to change is, you might have noticed that I didn't connect this up to the outside connection. And I thought that was going to be fine because, who cares? But I care. It turns out I care. So I'm going to connect that up. I'm sure a lot of you guys are really bothered by the fact that this dam is unusable. Like we're not actually going to generate any power from it. Of course not, because the power, what else are we going to use for the power station? The nuclear power plant. Come on, that's got to be the thing that we use. So yeah, this is unusable, but I think it's just a really great looking, I think it's just a great looking addition to the map, just in the backdrop. So yeah, unusable. Potentially, I think down the track, I'm going to cross this line. At this stage, I'm probably just going to stick within the city board, like the limits of this. But potentially down the track, it might be fun to sort of build around here. But I'm still trying to figure out how far this forest is going to come into this area. This is obviously as far as I've recorded. I don't really know how far the forest is going to come in, but I do like that there's a really nice big forest here. Because the Springfield is quite foresty. Like there's a lot of wilderness surrounding the city. So yeah, that's something I need to add in. And something else is I've done a lot of like texture work with the map theme, which is going to cause a lot of problems because we're going to change map theme. Hopefully I can figure out an easy way of doing it, but been using like some of these ground texture just to like create some different looking little areas. So obviously this is like in the winter time, this would probably be probably not the winter time. In the spring, this would be a bit more of a running river. I'm including some over here, and with these mountains, I just dusted them with some of these rocks. From different angles, from there it doesn't look great, but from afar it looks really nice because it just shows that they're obviously a different climate up on these mountaintops, and I just really love it. But I will go through and fix them up just a little bit because I've probably missed out on some areas that need a bit of fixing. But particularly this one, like I really love that this mountain here has a different texture on top than this one, and obviously because this one is not as high up, it's obviously just like these are the ridges, which I'm gonna fix up just a little bit more. And then over here where they usually get snow, this would be covered in snow in wintertime, or perhaps this is wintertime, who knows. But I would imagine that this would get more covered up, and that's why they're a little bit more barren. And I just really love that texture that I've got up there, and this one too. Oh, and let me show you these vehicles. So we have to have 90s vehicles, and look at these guys. They're great. We do have a couple of vanilla ones we need to get rid of. But yeah, all 90s vehicles. And this, I've snuck in a couple of other vehicles. So we've got, that's Firefly. I know, totally different show, but whatever. I kind of just wanted to sneak that one in. And I do have to ask for your permission about one vehicle. I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I saw it on the workshop and I was like, you know what? I guess we could possibly use this. I'm very tempted. I think it looks kind of cool, but also kind of dumb. I don't know. You guys be the judge. Obviously from the same show developers. Yeah, I love it. What else do I need to show you? I think that might be about it. Unfortunately, there's no trains driving around at this stage. I mean, they're a little bit hard to spawn in, but I really wanted to show you some of them. That's why I've got a couple of these train stations sitting around. But again, I've got a whole bunch of old-fashioned trains that just look so nice. And they just look so great going through the woods and stuff. So we might just have to include some of them in the cinematics, which are pretty much upon us. So guys, I do have a little bit of work to do, and I'm going to get to that now, and I'm going to start recording the next episode too, because I'm pretty motivated and really excited about the direction of this. I mean, it's a pretty wild series, and like, who knows how it's going to turn out. I'm pretty keen, and I hope you guys are too. But that is it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Special thanks to Mark Jansamar, Bob Diktari, Boss John, Brandon Ash, Alec Williams, and Holly Sovdi. Guys, thank you so much for your support on Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!